Happy Wednesday, everyone. Welcome to this week's class. I'm going to be teaching you the impact equation. So let's get started. Okay, so value plus emotion equals impact, the secret to making a difference, and dollars. This class came about because of a reel that I watched by someone I follow. I forget who it was, but either way, I saw this. It was actually a carousel. And I was reading through it. I was like, oh my gosh, yes, we never teach on this, but it's so indicative of what we do or try to do. But it is very hard, and you will see that it's probably what you're missing in your marketing efforts. And it's probably the reason why you may not be making or seeing a conversion of dollars from your efforts online. So let's keep going. I was standing in the Lululemon line getting my daughter some shirts the other day, and I saw this on the wall. It said, "Friends are more important than money." So let's go back and the wall at Lululemon, because I have no idea who said that, but the wall said it. Okay. Value plus emotion equals impact, the secret to making a difference, and dollars. Well, here's the deal. If you first seek to become someone's friend, which friends, if you're a true friend, if you're a good friend, then you help them, right? So if you seek to make friends online, then the dollars will come. It's a natural progression. If you seek to make money, then it's harder to make friends. And money doesn't keep someone, buying and buying and buying, but the friendship does. So, anyways, that's a nod to the wall at Lululemon. So, I'm going to tell you a story. Value plus emotion equals impact. These two teachers, or these two people, were my third grade teachers, Miss Brown and Miss French. And I saw them both at different times. I've seen them often in my adulthood. But I will tell you, if someone asks me who my favorite teacher is, there is no doubt that the words that come out of my mouth are Miss Brown. You know how, like, when you open a bank account or, a credit card or something, and they ask you for um, the security questions? Well, y'all can all go out and just, swipe my security, because Miss Brown is almost always one of my answers. Okay. She's amazing. And we are fast friends. There were two teachers, and I also loved Miss French, but she was in charge of the other classroom in the third grade. So let me tell you about Miss Brown. When somebody asks me about my favorite, I'm sorry, what I learned in elementary school, uh, there's not a lot that I can tell them as far as hard skills, right? Grammar, I remember counting macaronis in elementary school. I remember my best friend was the dancing bear and I was a ballerina in the PTA thing. Um, I remember music class and the recorders, but I don't remember a lot, right? But what if somebody asks me who was my favorite teacher, it's very, very clear what that answer is. And that's because she made me feel special, right? She cared about me as a person, and therefore I listened to her as a teacher. And I'm sure I learned, because I did go on to the fourth grade, believe it or not. And I remember her because of the impact that she made on me. And here we are, what, 35 years later, and she's made it into my teacher presentation. Crazy, crazy fact. So, if that doesn't tell you about the impact over the value that you give to your audience, then I don't know what will, because you can add value to their life. You can teach them all day long. But if you don't tie it to emotion behind what they're learning, then you're not going to make that lasting impact. So, let's keep going. So, frustration. You're probably feeling frustrated. You're probably saying, "Oh, dear Lord, she's going to start telling me to include emotion. I don't even know how to do that." Well, I'm going to help you. And sometimes I've put quotes over here on the right. I spent an hour on that reel and got no love. Have you ever said that? You're like, I spent all this time doing that and I'm getting nothing. Well, this class is going to teach you why. And you're not going to be frustrated anymore because I'm going to support you and your feelings and the emotions behind what you're feeling. You're feeling frustrated because you spent an hour on a reel and you got nothing out of it other than colossal waste of time and a really good reel that nobody saw. So nothing is working, and you've tried that endless content formula that we taught you, the EIEIO, right? And if you don't know what I'm talking about, then go buy that class or go back and watch it. And so you don't understand what's missing. Well, I'm going to teach you what's missing. So let's clear up the confusion because it's another emotion that you're probably feeling like, okay, well, you told me to do that and I did it and it didn't work. You taught me reels and I did that and it didn't work. I even did the reels and the EIO and I combined them. Still didn't work. Here is what's missing. So this is a quote. I don't see the point in social media. It just isn't getting me any business. Here's why. So there was another class we taught called The Most Human Company Wins. And we gave you all kind of methodologies throughout that class to be a human online. One of them is called the number line method. Okay. The number line method in a nutshell just means that you draw a number line and you plot your service on that number line. Doesn't matter where you put it. Truth be told, you just need to have some room after and some room before. Okay. That's all I really care about. So you plot your service on a number line. Okay. Pause me, draw a line, some dashes, and do like I did, except replace the words your service with, a haircut, selling your house, planning your next birthday party, baking your next cake, whatever it is that you give to people. Maybe you're a nutritionist, or a coach, whatever it is, plot it there. And it could also actually be a product or an upcoming event. Maybe you're planning a gala for your charity. Maybe you sell Young Living oils and it's back to school and you're talking about thieves oils. Whatever it is, your product, service, or event can go there. Next, your service is right there. So now we're going to discuss what came before it. What problem does your client, they, experience right before they seek your service? What problem does your client experience right before they seek your service? Let's give you an example here. Let's go back to the Young Living oils. Let's say thieves is you just have the word thieves there on the number line. Right before that, you have parents that have kids going back to school, or teachers. I'm a teacher that has kids coming back to school, and you are concerned that you're going to get sick, or that all the little kiddos are going to get sick, or there's going to just be germs festering around, and you're worried because you think that's gross because you don't want to get sick, because if you get sick, then you blah, 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 right? What problems does your ideal client experience right before they buy your thing, RSVP for your event, or sign up for your service? Do that. Then here's the third thing, right after your service. How do you feel, or how do they feel after you've helped them with your service, or they've purchased your product, or they've attended your event? How do they feel afterwards? So we're talking about feelings. Think of me as Oprah today. Okay. We're talking about feelings before and after. Notice we're not talking about your actual thing. We're talking about the stuff that comes before and the stuff that comes after. So here it is in its entirety, from after the service and what comes before. Sorry, before, during, and after. So the missing emotion, that's what you're missing, is the emotion. You're going to want to ask yourself why, why, until you get to the feeling behind your client's problem. So you can see that I sort of started to do that with Young Living oils. I said, okay, why would they want oils? Well, right now it's because back to school season. More people in a small space creates more germs. More germs, the more people get sick. So why do you want to keep from getting sick? Well, because being sick is no fun. Why is sick no fun? Because you don't get paid. Why is not getting paid fun? Because then you're poorer. Why is not having money important? Because you can't do the things you want to do in life. Why do you want to do the things you want to do in life? Because that makes life meaningful. So maybe you're solving the problem of the meaning of life with Young Living Oils. I don't know, but you see how I just kept asking myself why. And then I would normally write down those answers and really highlight all the emotions behind it. So, an example, your service, what problem do you experience before? So easier said than done, right? I just did it kind of on the fly. It was clunky, but what problem do they seek? What problem do they experience before seeking your service? Okay, so the service that I just chose to use the example for is Social School. Social School is a 6-module e-course that we just wrote that's for entrepreneurs that don't know how to use social media to market their business. Simple enough. Well, why don't they know how to market their business? Well, the majority of them are my age or older, and our age group doesn't know how. Why don't they know how? Well, because we didn't grow up with the internet. And also, the majority of us didn't go to school to be entrepreneurs. We became entrepreneurs later in life. So we're really great at whatever it is that we do, but we're not great at marketing it because A, we have no lifelong experience with it, and B, we're new to entrepreneurial endeavors. So, why is learning social media important to someone like me or my client? Well, because we don't want to feel left behind by all the young whippersnappers that know how to do it. And why don't we want to feel left behind? Because we feel like our experience is not balanced with our ability to talk about our experience and convey that experience online, which means we look like idiots. And I don't want to look like an idiot. I want to look like the boss that I know that I am with the wisdom and experience is very valuable. And I want to be able to convey that. So, why do I want to do that? Because I care. I care. And I also want to be successful. Why do I want to be successful? Because I don't want to be unsuccessful. And why does being unsuccessful bother me? Well, because I quit my career to do this and I want to prove everybody wrong. So, why? Because I don't want to look like a failure. So, failure, unsuccessful, idiot, hear those words? That's all playing into an emotion of feeling inferior and anxious and inadequate. Those are the feelings behind why someone would sign up for social school. If I just said social school teaches you how to do reels and it teaches you how to create your branded, you know, brand kit on Canva, okay, well, most people don't tie that to look professional and stand out amongst all the others online. They want to stand out. They want to look professional. They want to be successful. So those are the emotions behind it. Hopefully that's super clear. So the secret to sales is basically what I've been teaching you. It's called the impact equation. That's what we call it. Value plus emotion equals impact. And if you make an impact, that equals sales because it's not until you impact someone's life in a positive way that they're like, oh my gosh, here's my money. So the secret to sales is the impact equation. And that right there is value, emotion equals impact. So if you don't have impact, then no one's going to want to spend money. And you could just use this as a metaphor. If you're not impacting them in some way emotionally with that value, then they're not going to be like, heart, I like that. They're not going to comment on it. They're not going to share it. They're not going to save it. They're not going to take action on that item. So if we go back to the beginning, value plus emotion equals impact. Again, friends take action. They want to hang out with you. They come back. They talk to you. They conversate. They like your stuff. They support you. This Miss Brown was impactful to me because she not only gave me value, but she catered to my emotions as well. If nothing's working for you and you spend an hour on a reel with no love, it's because you're missing the emotion behind it. And so that your reel is just delivering value, but it's not making an impact. So that no love is because you didn't make an impact. What's missing? The emotion. All right. So now let's tell you how you can give value in a way that generates sales by adding that emotional component. So here's the solution, right? Add emotion using these 3 steps. You want to plot your product, service, or event on that number line. Again, leave room before and after. Ask yourself why. Just keep asking yourself why until you've arrived at the emotion, the emotional tug behind your client's problems, the emotional tug behind the problem. So yes, that they do want that that sense of safety and, getting rid of the germs, so to speak. Um, but why? Keep asking yourself why. Social school. Why would somebody want to buy social school? What happens right before that? Make your content about the emotional problem and not the thing that you're selling. Solve the emotion, overcome that emotion, and then they will want to take action. For instance, we have a webinar that we're working on, and it was going to be called something like the endless content formula or something like that. And instead of naming it the formula we're teaching, we called it From Invisible to Influential, because the people are feeling invisible and they want to feel influential, right? So we see the little alliteration there, and it's about emotion. Lead with the emotion, and you will make a bigger impact. So emotion causes action. Emotion leads someone to act. Ways to add emotion to your content. So first you have the 3 steps back here. Plot your product on the number line. Ask yourself why until you get to the emotion, and then make all your content about the emotional problem and not the thing. The way that you can do that easily is use stories. Tell stories like Miss Brown. I told you a story about her. You can give your opinion on different things. Like, this has made me feel so great. User generated content. A lot of times people will be like, oh, I use this hair growth product and man, my hair feels so healthy. And people think my hair looks so great now. And when I get out of the shower, I can't wait to blow dry my hair. Use client testimonies. Those are all really great things. And I'm going to tell you another story about Miss Brown. So she had this bathtub. It was 1987 when I got into her class, 87 and 88. And she had this red and white cast iron bathtub that she'd fished out of her Meemaw's house that was being torn down on the farm. And she remembered taking bubble baths with her Meemaw when she was little in that bathtub. She had it in her classroom, and she had little magnetic letters and numbers, and we could go up there and spell words. She had pillows in the bathtub and all these fun books. And if you were caught doing a good job, you got to go down to the front of the room. And for the next lesson, you got to sit in that bathtub and read books. And I want to tell you that I got to be in that bathtub a lot. And it's making me tear up. Miss Brown in this picture, we're standing in my driveway because when she retired, she reached out to me and asked me if I wanted that bathtub. And that bathtub and all that reading that I did in the bathtub and the spelling impacted me for the rest of my life. Until I was like 6 years ago, she brought me this bathtub that she knew meant so much to me. And it's now at my house. And I don't remember a damn thing that I learned in the 3rd grade, but I'm still in contact with her to this day, over 35 years later. And I've told countless people about her my entire life. Miss Brown made me feel special and valued, and you should make your audience feel special and valued too. So I'm going to leave you with that, and I hope that you had a aha along the way. Super simple information, but I hope that it made an impact on you. So have a good day.